Hey guys, welcome to our podcast, Everybody Has a Good Body, Changing the Narratives on Eating Disorders. I'm Casey, and I'm here with
Cameron
and Wyvern.
Today we're going to be talking about some of the signs of eating disorders that parents might notice in their adolescent children, or additionally, people might notice in themselves.
Or about someone that they love. So, people that you love are not... No one that you love is free of eating disorders, which is the terrible, terrible truth.
Or eating issues. Maybe not eating disorders, but eating issues.
No, but what I'm saying is no one's, doesn't have an opportunity to have one.
Okay. Like, there's
not someone that has magically no ability to get an eating disorder.
Like, everyone is susceptible.
Everyone is susceptible.
Our audience is inclusive of everyone.
It's not, and it's also not your fault.
Well, what a thing to
Great
say
way to
that eating
start.
disorders are inclusive.
I meant
so
our
crazy.
our audience is not,
Anyway.
the podcast could be for anyone.
Anyway, so some signs that you might be looking for are an obsession with weight and bodily appearance. Mm-hmm. So if your teenager come home and is using the scale every day and has never used the scale before, that might be a sign.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, true. Obsession with the scale. We've been there, I guess.
So true. I refuse.
At least me.
I refuse. I won't look because it's so easy to fall back into habits of...
Right.
I care what's on that.
A lot of people have to throw them away, at the end of an eating disorder.
A lot of people have to smash them.
Oh my gosh, that would have been so therapeutic. I should have smashed it.
You can smash mine.
Oh, I'll come smash her scale. Absolutely. Another sign could be excessive eating, or vice versa, turning down food that they normally eat.
Right.
If you've noticed that they're just...
Excessive dieting.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I can't.
It's okay.
Talk.
It's all great.
Well,
But
actually,
also excessive eating could be...
All of the above.
Yeah. So excessive dieting, and if they're normally oh, I'm not hungry for lunch today, and they keep doing that consistently, that might be a sign. Might be a little...
saying that you've already eaten to refuse food, probably one of the top excuses to
or being at your
restrict in
telling
front of
your
your
friends,
parents.
telling your friends I'm gonna go home and eat, and then going home and be I ate at my
already
friend's house.
ate.
Yeah.
Or this friend loves croissants. Croissants are their favorite. And then you're have a croissant.
Example.
And they're
I'm good, thanks though.
I don't really like croissants.
And
That's a lie.
And you're lying.
That's a lying liar who lies.
Well,
Or,
some
I'm just
people
not
can't eat
hungry for
croissants,
that.
but
Well, if this is I set up my story
hypothetically,
to be a person who loves croissants.
me. I love croissants, guys. The
Us
story's
bread
about me.
bitches.
Oh my god.
And sourdough. But
That's what we should have named this, bread bitches.
Bread bitches.
oh. Another thing, back to the eating excessive amounts of food as somebody that binged, that's definitely a sign. If your kid normally eats a certain amount of food and then all of a sudden they're just eating the entire house religiously, at the same time every day or something, or just eating super unhealthy amounts, and they themselves might even seem dissatisfied about it. However,
that might be a little harder to get into, because I do know that when you're young and
I was gonna say,
my brother, he literally ate us out of house and home when he was younger. He would eat a whole huge ass bag of grapes every day.
I hate that phrase, by the way, because I have a story that relates to that. I used to go to my friend's house, and I told you guys, my parents only gave me dinner. I went over there one time and ate 5 peanut butter sandwiches in a row. Yes.
Ew, just peanut butter?
Just peanut butter sandwiches. And there was very much a comment made about me eating their whole house. But then now that I'm an adult and they're an adult, they're very much I took care of you because I know your parents didn't feed you.
But then they would say that to you, even though they knew.
They were joking.
That is all such concerning.
But it was still as a kid, I was what is going on?
But it definitely goes
favorite
into you need to be sensitive about it. If you're going to address any of these concerns, any of these like things that you've noticed, you have to be sensitive, because if they're struggling with their eating or their body and you go up and you're like, I've noticed you're eating everything, or I've noticed you're not eating, they could get upset or defensive. You have to watch what you say, because sometimes it can make it far worse than you realize.
For sure, for sure. And also back to the puberty thing. If your child is like growing like a weed and also suddenly eating a lot more food than they used to, that might be less of an eating disorder thing and more of a your child's going through puberty thing. So
and that would make sense.
A lot of these things are not necessarily your child has an eating disorder. Like, none of these things are like 100% of the time, if this happens, your child has an eating disorder, be scared. No, it's a chance to open up a conversation and be loving and caring and kind.
And taking notice, just paying more attention. Because sometimes if you don't struggle with food, you don't really notice when other people struggle with food. Or if you do struggle with food, you take maybe a bit too much notice in what other people's eating habits are. And I know we're talking like in the sense of like parents, but if you like resonate with any of these things, maybe reflect on your eating. Maybe start thinking like, oh, I've been doing this. I've been doing these things, and just become a little more aware, just so you're more cognizant of what's going on in your life, and just, be cautious.
And going back to last week's point about, like, hiding it and, like, having, like, control over your life. Having control over your life, especially as an adolescent, is really important. And it's also really important to maintain that control. And one way to really be certain that you're going to be able to maintain that control over yourself is to hide it. Mm-hmm. And so these are signs that your person that you love in your life... Or you. Well,
depending on how you
hopefully that's a person that you love in your life.
I
might be hiding it.
Yes.
Yeah,
so
many signs could be hidden.
This is some of the stuff you might overlook.
And anything can honestly be hidden if you're sneaky enough about it. Like, I convinced my whole family that I had really bad acid reflux and heartburn, and that the acid reflux was making me throw up, because they knew it was happening, but they didn't look into it enough for it to be a concern. And then, plot twist, the eating disorder gave me horrible acid reflux and heartburn.
I was going to say
to the
not
point
to jump
it would
forward,
actually
but...
make me throw up.
Yeah,
now you have the heartburn all the time.
Yeah.
The
terrible.
Not us talking about needing Tums before this, because the heartburn from an
Literally,
eating disorder.
literally before doing this episode, in the group chat, do you guys have any Tums?
But to Cam's point, the non-hidden signs are only non-hidden if you're paying attention. Yeah. So, like, have an interest in this person that you love, in their life, in what they're doing, and what their habits are. If you pay attention, you're going to see a lot more than you would otherwise.
And you might be able to prevent it from getting bad. Like, if you've noticed that your kid who likes to exercise, or maybe has never exercised, is going out and is doing it excessively and like a crazy amount, maybe be like, hey, what's going on? Is it just you're wanting to get fit?
If your kid has never run before and then starts running marathons, maybe you should worry. Like,
but, like, not necessarily worry, but have that conversation before you start to worry, and see where they're at, see what's going on. Definitely try to have an open conversation. Kids are going to lie. I lied. I don't know about you guys. Probably lied about it all the damn time.
Yes.
I'm not hungry. I'm good.
Starving.
I mean, a big part of the prevention probably would be, especially for the parents out there, just like you're saying, the reiterated point is communicate with your child. Have that open communication with them about food, about bodies. And remembering also that the way that you are with food is a role model for how your kid is going to be with food. A lot of people around you, even in a non-parent child situation, going back to Cameron's story, can really influence the way you see yourself and the way that you look at food.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was in a diet household
Oh,
And
God.
I don't know if
Did you have an almond mom?
The almond moms.
I did not have an almond mom.
That's like a
I had a
pandemic.
pecan mom.
Oh.
Okay,
Okay, what does that
what's
mean? Get
that
into
mean
that.
exactly?
It's almond mom light.
Okay, like, is it worse or
I love that you chose pecan as the other option.
tell us more?
So like what I call a pecan mom.
I'm so sorry we said
Is-
that differently.
It's okay. I say it both ways. I say pecan pie, but pecans on everything else.
I grew up saying pecans, but I like pecans better. That is not the point. I'm so sorry.
No. But yeah,
Tangent.
I had a pecan mom, and my pecan mom, wasn't like all about like the organics, but was like, you can eat as many fruits and vegetables as you want, but you can't eat any carbs other than dinner, other than meal
I think
times.
it's so crazy to restrict a child from having any carbs at all.
Like,
Woo.
you can eat the carbs that are in an apple, but like you can't eat
Bread.
bread
Like
or
demonizing certain foods.
Oh, that is such a
Such a
negative.
issue.
Yes.
yeah.
You like if you're gonna raise kids. Listen, I have no children. I'm gonna put that out there. Don't listen to me on how to raise kids, but also like.
But you're also
maybe,
about to tell them how to raise
But
kids.
like also maybe consider like not telling them that certain foods are terrible for you. Be like, some things are better in moderation. Like, you don't need to eat a whole bag of like.
I mean, everything in moderation, though, to be fair.
Yeah.
Like, you're
But
not
like,
supposed to
if
even
you
eat too many
grow
carrots,
up,
for example.
think exactly. Yeah, your skin can turn orange. That's crazy.
I love
Anyways,
carrots, though.
I know.
Carrots are so good.
Call back to that one episode of Magic School Bus.
Period. What I was saying though is that just teaching them, like telling them that these foods are bad for you is gonna, honestly, it's gonna make you want it. And it's also like, for me personally, saying, oh, you can't have that, it made me feel guilty for eating it.
That's
and,
real.
And that guilt is so strong, and it built up and built up and built up, which is super understandable for why I was super susceptible to an eating disorder, because I already felt bad when I would eat foods, like just thinking like, oh, this isn't good for me, I should be eating this. Like, if I had learned that it was okay, because if you, especially if you restrict it, when you give a kid an option to eat that, they're going to eat an excessive amount. Like,
I was
if
just
you let
about
them
to
think,
ask
like, you
Wyvern
can
if they
have
had
this.
that experience, because that was how mine was. Like, I was not allowed to have candy growing up, and when I moved out, I ate a lot of candy.
I
that
didn't really
freedom
have,
to eat whatever you want is so hard on my soul.
I didn't really have that because we were. That's why I said I'm a pecan mom.
Okay. So it's not the
like,
same, sorry.
We didn't
Well, I mean, we were
have
allowed to have it,
no
but it was-
sweets. We had sweets very occasionally and in extreme moderation. So like, I could have a brownie every 6 months. Like,
See, that's insane. Like,
That is insane. I mean, I
Like-
only ask because the literature does say that that's what the trend will happen for children.
like my mom did pack me a
They'll
quote
eat
unquote
excessive
sweet
amounts
treat
after.
every Friday, but that sweet treat was literally the only sweet thing I was allowed to have that week, and it was like a 99 calorie like gross little brownie. Like, it was like the
Okay.
nastiest
My
shit.
my sweet treat was milk straws. I don't know if you guys even remember this.
oh,
What?
Like
yes.
major
Where you
throwback,
would
like the
sip
straws
it and then you would
that
eat
had
it.
flavoring in
Yeah.
it. No, not
Okay.
those. I've had
Yeah.
those too. It's like a straw that has little flavor beads in it, and you sip your milk through it. That was my sweet
No.
treat.
Fair enough.
But also, if you think about
They were
it,
banging though. I hate milk now. Just so y'all know.
they were banging, but I hate milk now.
Yeah, I only drink almond milk, guys.
Try that with a milk straw. But also, what I was going
I
to say is
should.
that I feel like it's kind of sucks as well to teach kids, like, oh, like, you can only have this like when something good happens or as a sweet treat, because it's like, I feel like that's so hard for, like, if you don't earn it or it's not that day and you want something and you're like, oh, I'm not allowed to have this. And
It definitely sets up like unhealthy like ideas, and not to go too much into the parenting thing, but it kind of like teaches your child to be like reward motivated.
It also teaches your child that like they
it
need
teaches
to
people.
bend
Maybe
to,
we shouldn't say your child.
Okay,
It teaches people.
It teaches
that-
people's
I
children.
promise we're not judging parenting.
It
We're
also teaches
working from life
people.
experience.
It also teaches people that you are worth what society looks at you and says you're worth. And
I mean, that might be a little intense about rewarding yourself, but the bigger picture, yes. But the one specific, I don't know if it would be society for me personally.
Yeah.
But it definitely was like, now I'm like, oh, if I do anything, I get to have this. And I'm like, I just want to have it if I want to have it. And now I have this like weird like food motivation, and I don't want food to be a motivator. I just want to be able to eat.
That's actually how I am now sometimes, though, because now I'm like, if I just study 10 more pages, I'm going to have a Reese's. Just 10 more.
at this creator called At Mama Cusses, she like does this whole thing about their all foods are good foods. There are foods that are good for your brain, and there are good foods that are good for your body.
And
so
they're good. Yes. Oh, I love
so
that.
like the foods that are good for your brains are like Doritos. Like
I think it's more like good for your like heart or mind, maybe not brain, like, but like
she
your
says good
mind.
for your brain.
Well,
This-
fish is good for your
this
brain.
Well,
specific
I'm just saying
creator I'm talking
someone
about.
that I've seen. It's not like brain, because there's like brain food. I think that might be a little bit confusing. But
Listen,
like good
we're
for
not
your
talking
mind.
about brain food. We're not talking about the diet culture nonsense of brain food. We're talking about food that is good for your mental well-being.
See, that's what I'm saying. Your mind. But
I was just talking about a specific person.
yeah.
Yeah. But speaking of social media doesn't like fat people. It's just the truth. It hates fat people, and it glorifies thinness, and in that it glorifies calorie restriction and teaching other people how to quote unquote be thin, or teaching other people how to have an eating disorder.
When I was doing some research, I came across this this group. I think it's called the Body Project. I'll have to link it in the description. But it's like groups where you can get involved, where they teach you to not value thinness and value like what your body looks at, and you kind of just like, they have all these like programs and things that you can look into that are just talking about that thinness should not be the goal. It shouldn't be the main focus. Like, everybody has a different body, and that's perfectly okay.
Everybody is
A good
a
body.
good
Period.
body.
And I
I had
found
to
it
do
very
sorry.
beneficial, and they like did this study on it, on how like helpful it was, and it talked about like doing like kind of support groups, and how talking to someone who's experienced this can be better for you, but we'll get into that later. But they were like, no, we're stopping this right now. We're not doing this whole thin is best type of mentality. And I thought that was a really great kind of project, and I'd never heard of it. And I think it should be bigger. It's so unfortunate
Right.
For
that
sure.
you can think of a diet culture or a diet page or a type of like HelloFresh or something, you know what I
Weight
mean?
Watchers.
Weight Watchers, yeah, like that comes to your mind so much quicker than something that's talking about loving your own body, supporting your own body, and all of that.
And to pick up some parents a little bit, you can do good by your kids. That's so possible. It's hard because society is built to make you do bad by your kid. But it's gonna be okay. And if you stumble or you fail sometimes, it doesn't mean you made a bad kid. It means you failed that one time. You have hundreds or thousands of times to get it better.
Maybe not failed, like struggled. I feel like fail has such a negative connotation. Like, you have room for improvement.
You can also always go back and improve things in
Yeah.
retrospect to a certain
And like,
point.
if you're listening to this and you're like, oh my gosh, maybe my kid has been thinking these things because this is something we do in our household, or this is something I tell my friends, or things like that, you're perfectly capable of changing that behavior and like rethinking it. And
Just talk to your kids.
Yeah.
Like
Just
that.
talk to your
talk to the
kids.
people
Talk to your
around
kids,
you.
talk to your
Don't
family, your loved ones, your friends.
Talk to people. It's good for everyone.
I agree.
And that kind of goes into another cause that we wanted to talk about, which is the idea of like peer pressure and family pressure.
Yeah, peer pressure and family pressure. Like, we talked about this a little bit earlier, but just like having an imaginary audience is so much bigger in adolescence. And like, it's kind of real sometimes, especially with your family. Like, your family can be...
No offense, but my family is 1,000,000% one of the biggest reasons that I have body image issues. Like, anytime
too.
I would eat, like, there were people in my life, family members in my life, that would make, like, oink sounds when I was little.
Oh my god.
That's terrible.
And when I
I'm
would
so
go
sorry.
out to, like, clothes shopping with my grandparents, like, my grandma would tell me that it's a problem that I went up in size, and it's like, it's a whole year. Of course I've gone up in size. I'm taller.
Yeah.
I'm a different person.
You're
like,
growing.
You're supposed to grow.
I used to have that problem
Clothes are not
too.
supposed to, like, I'm not supposed to fit clothes. They're supposed to fit me. And that, like, shame, I would cry every time. Every time I had to go clothes shopping. I have such a negative relationship with clothes on my body because of that.
And it's so wrapped up in the whole BMI,
God.
diet culture.
Don't get
whole
me started
situation.
on
Can't with the
BMI.
Can't do it.
Let's not get into that today, apparently.
I mean,
But-
we can. We definitely
No, it's
can.
okay, it's
just-
okay.
I'm saying the
Lord.
BMI is like so
But it's-
ridiculously not
It's not for
It's
individuals.
not up to standard
No, it's
for
really
what it
not.
should be
It's
and what it's
for-
used as.
It's not for individuals. It was never supposed to be for individuals. It's supposed to be a population.
But
Yeah.
every
Measure.
single time you go to the doctor, it's on your paper, and it's just like, why is this here?
It doesn't need to be there.
And if you
And-
don't fit that,
ban the BMI.
and if you don't fit that specific, like, quota for your height and age or whatever,
You're okay.
yes, you are okay. But doctors treat you like you're the scum on the bottom of their
That
shoe.
is so
If
rude.
you're
you're
not.
not skinny, nothing you say matters.
That was
Even
like something
if you're
we were
too
talking about
skinny,
yesterday.
nothing you say matters. And they, like, glorify being too skinny to certain patients, which is also, I feel like we're talking a lot about, like, being a bigger person, but eating disorders exist for, like,
Every different
every
size.
different body type.
Every person.
There's this mentality that if
body.
you have an eating disorder, you're a small person. That is not the reality. And
And that causes actually a lot of like toxic pressure too, I would
Yeah.
say, because there's like people who like you could disclose to, like, oh, I have an eating disorder, and they're like, well, I can't tell or whatever. I've
Well,
actually
you look
had
fat.
people like say things like that, and it's like, what? Excuse me, what the fuck is wrong with you? Why would you say that?
like, everyone can have one, and I don't
The
want it to
worst thing.
exclude anyone.
The worst thing is when you're like, hey, I need to eat. And the other person says, well, you should really probably go without a couple meals.
I swear.
When
There's
you
so many toxic
struggled
body
with
types.
telling
that,
people who struggle with gaining weight, oh,
You
you,
should
need
eat a
to eat
burger.
this. Let me get you a burger. Let's do the, like, I'm sorry.
Let's
Listen,
just maybe
no,
not
how about you mind
comment
your
on
own
what people
business?
are
let's
eating.
all deal with what our own bodies tell us to do and call it a day. Let's
Obviously,
not judge.
you can check in with friends, you can check in with family, but there is definitely like a certain, as we've said earlier, like sensitivity to it.
Yeah.
And I think that's even in the way, like, I don't think that we should be sitting here being like commenting on weight at family events and things like that.
Gosh, I hate family events.
That's a whole nother conversation.
Just a struggle. Just being cautious of your own eating and, like, making sure you're not maybe taking it too seriously. I don't know. Just trying to create healthier habits that are not, like, set by some strict standard of, like, what you have to do. Like, healthy for you, that's still balancing, like, your
Do what
overall
makes
health.
your body feel good.
Yeah. And I promise you, an eating disorder is not that.
No.
No, it makes your body feel horrible.
It makes your body feel horrible. It makes your mind feel horrible. It's just bad. And that's
Long-lasting
why
effects.
we would like you and your loved ones to not have to struggle with that.
Yeah, definitely. Just, I don't know.
And we'll talk more about that in the next episode. We'll definitely get into these concepts about the consequences of eating disorders.
Yeah.
Oh, I can talk about consequences of eating disorders till I'm blue in the face.
Well, let's stop this episode so that we can talk about that later.
All right, guys, this was Everybody is a Good Body. Thanks for coming back for episode 2. We hope to see you on episode 3 and that you've learned something and taken something away from this. And just have a great day.
Bye.
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 Have a beautiful time.